like anything
was.
with her name on it is strictly for the purposes of financial gain for those who have access to her estate, including Clive Davis.
Including Clive Davis.
It's Diddy season, and the rumors are flying fast and thick about the beleaguered music executive. Now, Clive Davis, another titan of the industry, has stepped into the spotlight, and what he has to reveal about Diddy is jaw-dropping. Allegedly, Clive Davis and Diddy were once romantically involved, with evidence supposedly backing this claim. The ever-controversial yet candid Suge Knight asserts he knows the real story behind these two music powerhouses. Knight's Prison podcast has already brought about countless shocking claims, including a recent unexpected allegation about Diddy and Clive Davis. In a new episode of Collect Call with Suge Knight, the former death row boss recalled Jimmy Iovine making a bombshell revelation during a meeting at Interscope. Apparently, Knight wasn't supposed to hear the explosive news, but Iovine decided to share it with him anyway. Knight began, "We are in the office, in the Westwood Interscope office. I walked into Jimmy's office. I didn't have to knock on the door. We were having a conversation and he overheard somebody say something he probably shouldn't have heard." He continues, he said, "I'm here because Clive Davis told me that he and Puffy's real tight and, lovers. So I thought he was talking like they had love for each other. I'm like, hey." He said, "Nah, they are lovers." He continued, and I'm like, "Why do you keep saying that?" I said, "Are they lovers like F-kin and S-kin?" And he said, "I don't want to say that, but that's what that means, right?" Knight's assertions remain unverified, yet this isn't the first instance of Diddy facing allegations about romantic entanglements with other male celebrities. Similarly, it's not the first time Suge Knight has leveled accusations against male celebrities, suggesting secret relationships. In February, for instance, Knight claimed that Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons were once romantically involved, stating, "They might not want to say it, but they know they were lovers," and implying they engaged in such activities. Regardless of these claims, individuals have the right to be who they are, but Knight suggests they should own it. Adding to the intrigue surrounding Diddy and Davis's closeness, rumors indicate that despite Diddy's ongoing legal issues, he still received an invitation to the exclusive annual Clive Davis pre-Grammy Bash. An insider close to the guest list shared with Page Six that Puff Daddy is a perennial invitee to the event, always securing a spot on the list. A sharp-eyed observer noticed that Diddy was not prominently featured in the usual photo montage accompanying Davis's annual invitation. Last year's digital invite showcased at least 3 images of the Bad Boy Records founder, but this year, he was only spotted in a single picture from the 2020 party, appearing behind Jay-Z and Beyoncé when he was honored. The noticeably fewer images of Diddy on this year's invitation sparked rumors that he had been intentionally excluded. However, a representative for Davis clarified that there was no deliberate omission. They explained that the photos in the pre-Grammy Gala invitation are updated annually, featuring different artists, guests, and performers each year. The troubled musician is nominated in the Best Progressive R&B Album category for his latest project, the Love Album Off the Grid, at this year's Grammys. In a past episode of the Rock and Roll High School podcast with Pete Gunnar, legendary music executive Clive Davis shared a story about how a young Sean Diddy Combs convinced him of the merits of hip-hop music. "Puffy was 23 years old and I knew the artists that I had, Aretha, Dion, Whitney, was one kind of music," Davis says. LaFace ushered in blue-collared R&B at its height, but sensing the hip-hop revolution, both L.A. Reid and I agreed that we could use someone really attuned to the street. You gotta know what you can do for yourself, and you gotta know when you need to look to other people, he explained. At that time, Diddy was a young, ambitious record executive who had cut his teeth under Andre Harrell at Uptown Records. Partnering with Clive Davis, Sean Puffy Combs was on the brink of launching his own label, Bad Boy Entertainment. Clive Davis recalls the meeting vividly. "I was convinced by what I heard. I connected the young, soon-to-be mogul to key industry executives. You've made your case," I told him. That's when I introduced him to our weekly singles meetings. Davis adds, "I presented him as someone who would guide us to the streets and be a pivotal part of the impending hip-hop revolution." Since that moment, Diddy and Clive Davis have maintained a close partnership, though not without their share of controversies. One such controversy arose in 2022, involving a prominent figure familiar to both Diddy and Davis. This individual criticized Diddy following his speech about the Grammy Awards' historical failure to adequately recognize R&B and hip-hop artists. Mays took to Instagram to express his frustrations about his position in the music industry, alleging an unfair situation with Diddy. Mace claims that Diddy refused his $2 million offer to buy back his publishing rights, despite having only paid $20,000 for them initially. In his Instagram post, Mace criticized Sean Combs for rejecting the offer and highlighted what he called a flawed business model. "I heard your Grammy speech about empowering artists and taking back control, so I'm taking the initiative. Before we ask other ethnicities to treat us fairly, we need to do right by ourselves as Black people, especially the creators," Mace wrote. He challenged Diddy, saying, "You can start making a change today by beginning with yourself." He accused Diddy of hypocrisy, stating, "You bought my publishing for about $20,000 and I offered you $2 million in cash. This is not Black excellence when our own people are exploiting us. If we're advocating for ownership, it shouldn't involve owning each other. No more hiding behind love and change. Give artists their due so they can support their families." At Clive Davis's pre-Grammy Gala in 2020, Diddy received the prestigious Grammy Salute to Industry Icons Award. During his acceptance speech, he criticized the Recording Academy for its historical neglect of hip-hop and R&B. Quoting Erykah Badu, he said, "We are artists, and we are sensitive about our stuff. We are passionate. For most of us, this is all we have, our only hope. Truth be told, hip-hop has never been respected by the Grammys. Black music has never been respected by the Grammys to the extent it deserves." Ironically, Mace performed in honor of Diddy at the same event, underscoring Davis's legendary status in the music industry. Before his collaboration with Diddy, Davis was already a significant figure, instrumental in shaping the careers of some of the greatest voices of our time. Whitney Houston, like many artists under Diddy's wing, faced significant challenges during her career. Clive Davis, who signed Janis Joplin in 1967, turned Barry Manilow into a star in 1975, and orchestrated Aretha Franklin's reinvention in 1980, had a profound impact on Houston's career. His collaboration with the late Whitney Houston solidified his reputation as a premier hitmaker and talent curator. Between 1985 and 1998, Houston released albums that included 11 Billboard #1 hits and sold over 50 million copies in the United States. Clive Davis was more than just a label head. He meticulously matched Whitney with the right songs, hosted her events, and praised her supremacy, especially in comparison to Mariah Carey. From 1967 to 1973, he led Columbia Records, transforming it into the preeminent label of the rock era. During his tenure, he signed iconic acts like Janis Joplin, Santana, and Blood, Sweat and Tears. He expanded into R&B and disco through a promotion and distribution deal with Philadelphia International, home to the O'Jays and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. However, his career at Columbia ended abruptly due to expense account violations, including a controversial $180,000 charge for his son's bar mitzvah. Despite maintaining his innocence, he was fired. Determined to restore his reputation, he founded Arista Records, signing influential artists such as Patti Smith, Lou Reed, and Dionne Warwick. His first major success at Arista was with Melissa Manchester, a talented singer-songwriter who initially sought to write deep, contemplative songs. They achieved significant hits together, though Manchester also experienced the challenges of working with an executive intensely focused on commercial success. Another star from that era, Barry Manilow, parted ways with Davis due to conflicts over his artistic persona. However, before leaving, the issue of his sexuality was managed with a narrative that he was living with production assistant Linda Allen. Manilow returned after his first album without Davis flopped. Carly Simon, an artist with Arista, remarked, "There's this eternal struggle between our desire to be artists and the drive to be successful. More often than not, the successful side wins." Davis detested the term Sengali that Whitney Houston used to describe their bond, finding it rather slippery. Yet, as he pondered, what other word could encapsulate their intricate connection? 2 weeks after his signing of her, Davis proudly presented his protege on the illustrious Merv Griffin show, a testament to his unwavering belief in her potential. Despite her lack of recorded material at the time, his conviction remained steadfast. Moreover, he relished the limelight of television appearances. In 1985, the release of the Whitney Houston album marked a monumental milestone, boasting a staggering 15 million copies sold in the United States alone. While her Grammy win in the pop category for Saving All My Love for You was a triumph, the loss in the R&B category with You Give Good Love underscored the strategic appeal to white audiences. As Carly Simon astutely observed, Davis was staunchly aligned with the victor, regardless of the toll, be it a career or one's essence. The subsequent arrival of Whitney's sophomore album in 1987 heralded unprecedented success, with all 4 singles ascending to the #1 spot, solidifying her status as a chart-topping phenomenon. Amidst accolades, Davis quizzically asked Whitney if she felt as though she were living a dream, to which she responded affirmatively, acknowledging the surreal nature of their achievements. However, the euphoria was short-lived as scathing reviews greeted the follow-up album, likening her to a mere melody with lungs. Behind the glamorous facade, Whitney grappled with mounting familial expectations, assuming the role of caretaker for her insatiable kin. Entrusting her father with managerial duties and lavishing her mother with material comforts, she navigated the complexities of fame amidst familial dynamics fraught with tension and dependency. During the late 1980s, Whitney's brother Michael introduced her to the practice of freebasing cocaine. Around that time, Robin Crawford, a close friend of Whitney's, visited Houston's residence to discuss a concern. Houston struggled with the revelation that her daughter might be gay, hesitating to confront the issue directly. She opted against organizing an intervention with Crawford and resolved to tackle the situation solo. Davis, too, displayed reluctance in addressing Whitney's orientation and the potential impact of keeping it concealed on her well-being and state. This reluctance might have stemmed from his own experiences as a gay individual. Interestingly, Davis admitted to being unaware of Whitney's orientation. "We never even broached the topic," he remarked, before delving into a recount of the rumored love affairs she supposedly had in the 80s with Jermaine Jackson and Eddie Murphy. "Absolute nonsense!" interjected Frederick Dannon, renowned author of Hitmen, Power Brokers, and Fast Money in the Music Business. "Clive couldn't have been oblivious. He knew every beat," Davis retorted firmly, dismissing any insinuation that he orchestrated a cover-up regarding Whitney's suite or suppressed her authenticity. In April 1989, at the Soul Train Awards in Los Angeles, when Whitney's name was announced among the nominees for Best R&B Urban Contemporary Single Female, the audience erupted into loud boos, recounted producer Kenny Edmonds, better known as Babyface. Whitney's encounter with Bobby Brown marked a pivotal moment as they exchanged playful banter, leading to an invitation to her 26th birthday bash in New Jersey. During this time, she and Davis also enlisted Babyface and Louisiana Reed to collaborate on her 3rd album, I'm Your Baby Tonight. Interestingly, Babyface reflected on the irony of their involvement, suggesting they may not have been the obvious choice for Whitney's desired direction. Nevertheless, Clive's decision to bring them on board proved strategic. 3 years down the line, Whitney and Brown tied the knot. However, the morning of their wedding unraveled a revealing scene. Brown stumbled upon Whitney indulging in a line of cocaine, a moment he recounts in his memoir with a mix of disbelief and intrigue. He admired her blend of elegance and street smarts, a sentiment echoed in Whitney's public image. Meanwhile, Whitney was gearing up for her most significant commercial venture yet, The Bodyguard, alongside Kevin Costner. Even her marriage to Brown became entwined with the film's promotional strategy. Interviews with Whitney and Crawford portrayed them not as lovers, but as steadfast companions, a narrative that conveniently fit the movie's promotional arc. Reflecting on Whitney's impending marriage, Crawford expressed a belief that it would bring her a sense of fulfillment. Despite the complexities of her personal life, Whitney's journey remained intertwined with both her artistic endeavors and the careful crafting of her public persona. For 7 years, Crawford remained an integral part of the management team, entrenched in a struggle for Whitney's attention, amidst what many in Whitney describe as a battle. During this period, Davis gradually faded from the limelight as Whitney took center stage, starring in films that tackled African American issues head-on, while simultaneously grappling with her own personal demons. Tragically, her addiction spiraled out of control, culminating in an overdose during the filming of Waiting to Exhale in 1995. Despite attempts to stage a comeback, including pulling out of major promotional events like The Preacher's Wife due to health issues, Davis's patience wore thin. He penned a letter urging Whitney to return to work. Eventually, Whitney found herself back in the studio working on My Love Is Your Love, an album marked by collaborations with innovative producers like Missy Elliott, Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, and Rodney Jerkins. Although critically acclaimed, the subsequent tour faced challenges. Despite her undeniable talent, Whitney's personal struggles and tumultuous marriages cast a shadow over her performances. The strain became too much for Crawford, who ultimately decided to step away from the family business. Finding solace in a settled life with Lisa Hintelman, an editor at Audible, Crawford's departure marked the end of an era. Whitney's downward spiral continued, as observed by her former bodyguard, David Roberts, in the documentary Whitney Can I Be Me? Despite fleeting moments of triumph, the singer seemed to sink deeper into her troubles. In March 2000, the Grammy-winning artist withdrew from a performance at Davis's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Shortly after, she encountered a mishap during an Oscar rehearsal, singing the wrong song and struggling to maintain pitch, leading to her dismissal. Davis began to realize Whitney's struggle with drugs around this time, despite her assurances that she had it under control. Her 2002 album, produced after Davis departed Arista to establish a new label, received poor reception. A memorable moment during an interview with Diane Sawyer further tarnished her image, when she infamously declared, "Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack." Despite a reunion for her final album and subsequent divorce, Whitney's health deteriorated due to a combination of cocaine use and years of smoking. With her fortune dwindling and her family relying on her support, she reluctantly agreed to embark on a tour, which ultimately ended in disaster. When they met at his bungalow in the Beverly Hills Hotel in February 2012, the week of the Grammy Awards, Whitney told Davis that she had been swimming for at least an hour a day and would be ready to enter the studio in August. Whitney then went out to a nightclub with her daughter Bobby Christina Brown and left it bleeding, and the police removed piles of empty liquor bottles and prescription drugs from her hotel room. As far as Davis knew, Whitney had been sober for the next 2 years. Davis honored her at his Grammy event by inviting Alicia Keys and Whitney to the stage to perform some of the singer's iconic songs. He also attended Whitney's funeral in Newark, New Jersey, where he delivered a eulogy highlighting the remarkable achievements of their 27-year partnership.
He needed her back.
Oh, yeah.
He needed her back, but he needed her back and under his control. You want to know what fucking Clive Davis did for Whitney Houston? While he was busy trying to bring her back. See, people forget, before she came to the United States, he sent her on an international tour. And she went out on tour, and she was still getting high at the time.
Davis recounted 5 of her 11 #1 hits, 5 more top 10 hits, 4 movies she starred in, and her unforgettable rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. He shared an anecdote from 1987 when he asked her about her success, but Crawford, Whitney's close confidant, remained silent that day. Instead, she expressed her thoughts on Esquire's website, pinpointing various factors contributing to Whitney's struggles, including the record company, band members, family, friends, and even Davis himself. Crawford believed that Whitney's tireless efforts to please everyone ultimately drained her. Many speculate that Clive and Diddy's ability to connect stemmed from their shared experiences and similar journeys in the music industry. Clive was born in Brooklyn in 1932 to a middle-class Jewish family. His father worked as an electrician and salesman, while his mother was a stay-at-home wife. In his teenage years, he lost both parents in quick succession and was left with no money. As a result, he moved in with his sister in Queens, New York. After finishing school, Clive received a scholarship to study at New York University's College of Arts and Sciences. He graduated with a degree in political science, magna cum laude, at the age of 21. He then received another scholarship to study law at Harvard, from which he graduated in 1956 at the age of 24. Clive's first job out of university was at a small law firm called Roseman, Collin, K, Pitek, and Free. One of the firm's clients was CBS Records, and Clive became closely associated with them. When one of the partners left the firm, he hired Clive to handle one of CBS Records' subsidiary labels, Columbia Records. Initially hired as assistant counsel, Clive was promoted to general counsel within a year, at just 28 years old. In 1965, the company was restructured, and Clive was made administrative vice president and general manager of Columbia. A year later, CBS restructured all its recorded music units into one group called Columbia CBS, and Clive was made the president of recording for this new unit. As president, Clive became very interested in the trending genres of rock and roll and folk music. While the earlier part of his career was dominated by pop rock and folk signings, the 1980s and 1990s saw a shift towards R&B and hip-hop. During this period, Arista became the go-to label for R&B music after signing a major deal with prolific R&B producers L.A. Reid and Babyface, who launched their own subsidiary, LaFace Records. Many top R&B artists, including Toni Braxton, Usher, Outkast, Pink, and TLC, were signed to Arista. The company's dominance in the urban music market was further cemented when they signed a deal with Diddy, who started his own subsidiary, Bad Boy Records. Diddy brought Notorious Big, Faith Evans, Mace, and 112 on board the Arista freight train, marking the beginning of a long partnership that revolutionized R&B. This R&B revolution commenced with the signing of Whitney Houston in 1983. After being persuaded to watch the young singer and model perform at a New York nightclub, Clive Davis was convinced of her potential. He took it upon himself to mentor Whitney and manage her career, knowing he could turn her into an international superstar.
And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot. Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beat. They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat up.
The remarkable feat achieved by Clive was his ability to sell R&B music, a niche product, to a predominantly white audience in the United States. Over time, he made the world fall in love with the genre. Like Berry Gordy before him, Clive faced significant criticism from R&B purists for allegedly whitewashing the sound of the genre. Whitney Houston emerged as the crown jewel of the Clive Davis multiverse, eventually becoming one of the best-selling female artists of all time, with over 200 million records sold in her career. In the 1990s, Clive Davis signed Ace of Base, one of the most successful Swedish acts since ABBA. The band dominated the charts in the mid-1990 SS with hits such as The Sign, All That She Wants, Wheel of Fortune, Lucky Love, and Happy Nation, ultimately selling over 50 million records internationally. Simultaneously, Clive expanded into country music by opening a Nashville division of Arista. He aimed to replicate his success with R&B talent in the country music scene. Under his leadership, Arista Nashville signed major country artists including Brooks and Dunn, Alan Jackson, Brad Paisley, and Pam Tillis. Unlike Diddy, Clive genuinely cared for his artists and ensured they were well compensated. This cannot be said of Diddy, as almost every artist he signed complained about various issues, but he remained indifferent. Now, things have come full circle. Diddy finds himself in a situation where those he mistreated could have helped him, but they don't want to. In fact, they are enjoying his fall from grace. Poor Diddy. So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned and we will catch you in the next video.